Hi, I'm Nancy Juetten, and I'm the Get Known to Get Paid mentor and the teacher for the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp. And today I'm lucky to get to interview one of my clients, Lenore, who has been an active member of the most recent session. And so I'm super excited to introduce you, Linda. And why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do? Who do you do it for? Why are we excited? And then we'll get into the interview.
Sounds great, Nancy, and thank you so much. It has been a joy being in your program because there's been so many things that I have learned. First of all, I'm Linda Lenore, and I help women, especially that are in the healthcare industry, are entrepreneurs, to realize what is going on in their home, how their home is actually an extension of who they are and what they do in life and what they want in life, so that they can discover how it may be hindering or how it can help them to create the life that they desire. And I do this through presentations, I do this through one-on-one consulting, and I love to share the wealth of knowledge that I've gleaned over the 35 years of being a feng shui master and my 50 years plus of interior design. So I just want women to realize how important the home is. That's my joy, that's my passion. That's what I want to do to help people.
And if folks are excited to learn more about you, what's the website that they should visit right now so they can appreciate the value that you bring?
My website is lindalenore.com. It's just like it sounds. It's LINDALENORE.com. And there's a couple of different things there that will help you, guide you to whatever is of interest to you at this point in time. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And isn't it nice that you have one of those names that's easy to spell and say and that people can't mess up? I mean, I've got this name Juetten. It's like, how do you spell that? How do you say that? Oh, Juetten rhymes with button.
But it's not spelled the same. So that's the challenge.
I know. It's just one of those things. But there's a tip for you. Have an URL that's easy to speak and spell. It will make it so much easier for people to beat a path to your door. LindaLenore.com.
Yes.
So just curious, we've had 12 amazing weeks together. What called you to join the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp in the first place?
I had known of you and had taken a couple of 1 hour webinars with you periodically in the last few years. With COVID and with Zoom becoming more and more acceptable, I have been doing some things with Zoom and realized that the next step I needed to take in my journey of getting my message out was to get involved in podcasts. And when I saw the promotional information about it, I said, I think I'll check this out. And just the things that you said sounded like it was, a perfect fit for me. One of the things that you talk about is, what are the podcasts that you should get into? What are good podcasts? How to be a good guest podcaster, a guest on a podcast. And then also having the media sheet that is laid out to be able to send to potential podcast hosts. All of those were areas that I knew that I needed some support with. When I joined the group, the first thing that I wanted to do was to get a one sheet. And as I have shared with you and in the group, I've had a one sheet for speaking for numerous times over the 30 or so years that I've been in the speaking profession. And I never really connected with my one sheet. It was like, these are talks that I do. And the bottom line was that they never really focused in on what I wanted to teach. It was information, but it wasn't what I wanted to really connect with people to help them. And I wasn't comfortable with how it was laid out. It was like it wasn't really me. And one of the greatest gifts was within the first 2 weeks, I had that with you. You helped me, you guided me, you gave me suggestions, you critiqued what I did. And the one sheet was just, wow, I was just totally blown away with it. I love it. I love it to this day. And here we are 3 months later. And that's rare for me. Usually by the time that 2 or 3 months goes, I like change. And I see that it doesn't fit for me. So other than a couple of critiques, that one sheet is exactly what I needed. And it has actually gotten me several speaking engagements already. And that is phenomenal as well. Now, the other thing that happened with that one sheet was that it gave me the confidence to really go out there and speak what I wanted to speak. You helped me to create titles that were newsworthy and catchy. And that's just not my forte. That's definitely your forte. So I would come up with the basic and then you would critique it. And I go, yeah, well, what about this? And we worked together on that. And that's some of the things that happen not only in the training that you did, but then we have those every other week we were having the coaching. And that's where we would do that interaction and come up with what I am just thrilled with that one sheet. Plus you also helped me to find my freebie, what I wanted to give away as a freebie, and that it really, it's catchy. It speaks to what I want to address. And it's something that will attract my clients, potential clients to me. So that was another win that happened through the coaching calls that we had.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it was so fun to see you light up when the media one sheet got done, because, you know, there's a difference between a media one sheet for speaking and a media one sheet for podcast guesting. And I think everyone in the course gets the distinction very quickly, because it's an important distinction and it really does help you channel your efforts appropriately, excuse me, in the direction that they should.
Definitely.
So now there are other coaches that you've worked with over the last 35 years. There's other programs and trainings that you've engaged in over the years. What, if anything, was different or special about the way this program worked for you?
There were a couple of different things. I mean, there probably were more, but let's just keep it to a couple of them. Many times my coaches will have a grand and glorious plan, and it doesn't feel like it's a plan that is based on who I am and where I want to go. And after the first time that we were doing some of the coaching and I shared with you where I am in my life and what I really want in my life, you totally took it out of the normal way of coaching and you really adjusted it so that it was something that fit me, fit what I wanted to do, where I am in my life. I was retired. I wasn't sure I was ever going to get back and doing anything, although I love to do it. And I've got a wealth of knowledge that really does need to be shared. And you got that I wasn't one that was going to be working 40 hours a week focused in on my business. So we really honed in on what was really important for me to do. And that definitely is not something I've had in my other coaching. It's kind of like a blanket coach that, well, this is the way that I do it. And this is the way that you're going to do it because this is the way that I've always done it. And that's not who you are. You really listened to what I said. We communicated. We figured out what was the right path, the right way for me to approach this. And then you jumped on board with me full bore and we went ahead, and I'm delighted with what I'm creating for my life and with my speaking. And I'm getting the speeches, the podcasts booked daily, literally.
Well, and one of the promises that I make in the course is that you will learn how to fish so you're never hungry. And you've learned how to make a winning approach to a host. You've learned to make a winning approach to a meeting planner. You've learned how to see, hear, and celebrate the decision maker before you ask for something for yourself. These are skills that are going to stay with you indefinitely and allow you to ramp up or dial back as your lifestyle requires. And that's one of the things I get very excited about, because sometimes people say, well, I'll just hire someone to do this for me. But if you hire someone to do it for you, you don't know what the heck they're doing. And maybe they're getting maybe they're setting you down a path that doesn't feel right for the life you're trying to create. And so you have the power now, and you can delegate it to an assistant if you want to at some point, or you can continue to do it for yourself, but you get to control the volume. And I think that's really great for where you are in your life.
Definitely. And let me just add to that I literally have had people that I've hired in the past, and probably 75% or more of the bookings that I got really were not good matches for me. They may have been great paying, and they really didn't bring the clients to me that I wanted. With the training and the techniques that you have shared with us, I've literally in the last week reached out and booked 7 podcasts. So this is and this is probably only in the course of like 2 or 3 hours during that whole week, because I knew what groups I wanted to speak to and approached it from who they are, what it is that they're doing. And I've been asked to speak on several others. I said, no, it's not a match. That's not my audience. It's a waste of your time and mine to be doing that. Getting that clarity is a real gift.
One of the things I really appreciate about you, Linda, is that you know what you want to do and you know what's not a fit, and you are very clear about it. And I think to the extent that others who join the program can have that same mindset, you know, it takes time and effort to book yourself, show up for the show, do the Monday morning quarterback after the show, and then merchandise the show after the fact so that you can do your part to make sure the host gets additional listens and subscribers and that sort of thing. You know, that's really what I'm teaching here. And if you're on the wrong show, that's just an awful lot of time and effort that's not going to be fruitful. So having the courage to say no to the wrong things so that you have more time and resource and energy to say yes to the right things, that's also a really important lesson. It's not just how many shows can I do, it's how many of the right shows can I do to get the best possible impact for my star on the rise and my bottom line that's soon to grow, right?
Definitely. You know, one of the times 20 years or so ago, I was doing home and garden shows. I love doing the home and garden shows. Every now and then I would be on the local news programs. In doing those, invariably, because I do feng shui, there's a lot of skepticism about it, and there's a lot of jokes. And I don't take jokes. I'm too serious a person, you know, and I've had too many things happen in my life. I discovered that I really didn't like it. I actually walked away feeling very deflated after doing some of those shows because it didn't build me up. It didn't let me share what I really wanted to share. And I think that if anything, if anyone takes anything away, that's one of the things with you, Nancy, is that you really help us to hone in on what the audience is. Who is it that we really should be addressing as the podcast? Listen to the podcast. Are we a match for the way that the podcaster is running their show? And do we like the way that they ask their questions? How do we feel about the speakers or the guests that are on there? If we haven't connected with the guests and we haven't connected with the hosts themselves, that's probably not a good fit. And that's one of the things I walked away with from right at the very beginning of the course, the time together with you, which is another gift.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, I am like this classy lady that doesn't swear and shows up well prepared and speaks in complete sentences. And early on in my podcast and broadcast guesting career, I started to get really tuned in to what shows would be a fit and which shows wouldn't be a fit. And, you know, there are these shows called shock jock radio shows. I just sort of take them off the list. I know I'm not a fit. If it's not a fit, you must not commit. And that's that.
And that's another thing, Nancy. You have such a wonderful way with words. The slogans, the way that you will mention something, you know, like just like what you just said, because when it rhymes or when it is a great soundbite, that's when it lands. And you've helped me to create a number of those within the way that I wrote that one sheet and in the way that I promote myself and the way that I am doing my presentations and my guests, you know, being a guest on the podcast. That is just an extreme bonus to get from working with you. I've worked with a number of people. They come up with a word or two over the course of 6, 12, 18 weeks or whatever happens to be the length of the time that we're together. I hear gems from you every single time that we're together. So it's like, if I could just capture them all, that would be great.
Well, and that's the cool thing, because we do record all the calls, and when a soundbite flows out of my lips into your ears, I quickly note the time code of how many minutes we've been on the call. And I'll say, hey, Linda, it's 10:32. When you get the replay, fast forward to 10:32 so you can capture exactly what came out of my mouth and use it for your own advantage. I mean, I give this stuff away freely because it's certainly a gift that I have. And I'm noticing that a lot of people come to me because the messaging piece is not their jam, but they know that it's mine. And so if they can get those sassy sound bites crafted and honed and practiced while we're together, then they get to own them forever. And that makes your message more memorable and more sticky. And isn't that really what it's all about? Because we're trying to ping pong people back to lindalenore.com, and hopefully everybody's rushing there because they need feng shui and they want to slay their clutter and they want to have health, wealth, and harmony in their homes. And that's what it is that you do. Now, a lot of folks are saying, like, how much time is this going to involve? I mean, did you find that you could put the time into the course? Was it spread out enough that you didn't feel overwhelmed? Anything you can say about that piece of it?
Definitely. I'm one of those people that books way too many things to do and has more things on my plate that I love to do. And of course, the love to do is more of what I'm going to do than the have to do's. The time frame was perfect because the way that you have this set up, 1 week of teaching, 1 week of coaching, alternating, worked very well. Sometimes I was able to do some of the work immediately after our training, and other times it was like the night before that I was doing it, just because how life is. And there was never so much that I couldn't do it. Maybe that I couldn't do it within that 2-week time frame, yet I knew that I would be, just because of how life happens sometimes. And then I was able to play catch up easily with it and really focus in on doing what I wanted to do, what needed to be done. So we're almost to the end of this particular session with you, and I am totally caught up and have gotten several things in addition done. One of the things was the freebie, writing something for the freebie instead of just having. I've had something as a giveaway for decades, and this new one required a little bit more work. So I'm putting the final touches on it literally when we finish up with this call.
Well, and
so the timing has been perfect.
Well, that's so good to hear. When I first started doing this, I did it in 6 weeks and it felt very compressed. And here again, I was listening very carefully to the people who were participating and feeling their angst. And I thought to myself, what if I extended the time frame from 6 to 12 weeks so people could feel more spacious? And that, I feel, was a really good choice because we had 100% attendance all throughout. It was remarkable. And what I also noticed is that we actually created like friendships in the group. And what did you think about those mock interviews that we did with when I matched you up with a partner to do a mock interview? How was that for you?
Those worked very well because it helped me to learn, one, that being a podcast host is probably not my forte. The amount of time that one needs to spend to create, to be prepared to do it, requires a lot more than just jumping on until maybe you get really, really good at it. So that was interesting from that perspective, because I've talked with other people, I've done podcasts, I've been a guest, I've jumped in and helped out with running Clubhouse. So I'm trying to find the word. It's not coming. I'm comfortable speaking, and I'm comfortable asking questions, and discovering that really running a podcast requires a whole nother set of skills that maybe someday I will develop, maybe I won't, I don't know. Being able to share and practice as a guest on with someone that I know and I've already given some questions to, I felt more comfortable. And it also is something where they ask questions, which is exactly what a podcast host is going to do. They're going to follow some of your questions, hopefully, at least a few of them. And then they're also something's going to pop into their head, and you need to be able to dance with it. So having the opportunity to do a few practice runs really did help. And it's also being able to see how you appear on camera as a speaker, as a guest, because some of the podcasts you are, like we're doing this here, on Zoom, and other times it may be done on Zoom, but they're just doing the audio recording, they're not doing the visual. Many of the podcasts that I had been doing were on Zoom, and they were only using the audio. It's a totally different format. Format's not the word. It's a different
dynamic.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Because you want to be sure that you look at the camera, and hopefully I'm doing a pretty good job of that. And keeping your train of thought when you're looking at the camera is an additional thing. When you're looking at a person, you're getting visual clues as to whether or not you're sharing the right information, if they're getting it. And when you're looking at a camera rather than at the person, you have to really focus in on what you're trying to say. Is it coming across succinctly? Are you rambling on? Are they getting it? And you can't, like this, look down at the person to see what their response is. So having that opportunity to test the waters with another person interviewing before getting out there and actually doing podcasts on Zoom, where they are using both the audio and the visual video, was wonderful.
I'm so glad you felt that way. You know, that was sort of something I tried this last time, and I was really glad that I did, because I noticed that sometimes people don't look at the camera, and sometimes people don't pay attention to what people see behind them. And sometimes they show up too casual in their appearance to convey the kind of brand and reputation that is important for their positioning. And what I noticed during the course is the transformation for the students was dramatic. If it was super casual in the beginning, people were super polished at the end. And then when they get to do that VIP interview with me, if that's their choice, they're not doing an interview for the first time, and they've worked out their willies, if you will, because I watched those interviews and I gave people feedback, and I did it gently, but boy, people made light years improvement. And I think, you know what, if you're going to be on Oprah, you got to practice a few times before you get to the big show. And we do that within the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp, and I think it's really fruitful for everybody. So what would you say to someone sitting on the fence and considering whether or not they should jump into the Broadcast Your Brilliance with me as their teacher?
Well, if they're sitting on the fence and they're wanting to do podcasts, if they don't jump in with you right now, they're going to be sitting on the fence another 6 months, 8 months from now. And then there's going to be so many more people out there doing being guests on podcasts, that you're going to be lost in the noise. So now's the time to do it. Get started, learn the tips that you need to do to be a great guest. Maybe it's even something that you'll decide that you do want to do a podcast, because you're going to learn so many different aspects. It's not just being a guest. It's, what do podcast hosts really want? What are they striving to achieve? How do you want to interact with them? So that if you do become a podcast host, you're going to have the insights, and you're going to cut that learning curve drastically. And being a podcast guest is going to ramp up your business. I presume that you're going to be doing the podcast because you have a business. This is something that you want to do to expand, to attract the right people. This is one of the ways people will be getting back in and doing their commutes. They're going to be wanting to listen to things. Most people that I know of like to listen to something on podcasts or some kind of a talk show while they are sitting in traffic, because it helps make the time go faster. So you might as well be out there now doing it and get started before some of the other people do it. So don't sit on the fence, jump in, jump over that fence and get there.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for being so generous with your time today, sharing the value that you got from the program and the value that I brought to it for you. Again, if you love what Linda's up to, please go to lindalenore.com. She's the feng shui master. Your home will be healthy, wealthy, and harmonious as a result of the wisdom that she so generously shares. And if you're ready to jump into the world that I lead at the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp, please go to getknowngetpaid.com/BYB and take your virtual front row seat. You're in for the rocket ride of your life for the next 12 weeks, where these skills will be in your own skill set for the lifetime of your successful business. And I can't wait to see how high your star gets to rise as a direct result. So thanks, Linda, for joining me, and thanks all for watching. We will see you here for the next time. Until then, bye-bye for now.
Bye, everyone. It's priceless. Jump in.